Have you ever added something to your cart, maybe a new pair of shoes, a speaker, or even groceries, and right before checkout, this button pops up. Buy now, pay later, zero interest, 4 easy payments, etc. Sounds amazing, right? You don't have to wait. You don't need a credit card. You don't even need the money right now. You just click it, split the cost, and keep moving. But here's the question I'm asking. If it's really free, how are these companies making billions? I'm talking about Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, Sezzle, Zip. These buy now, pay later services have exploded in the last 5 years. And most of us, especially people my age, don't even question them. But we should, because beneath that friendly pink app and those zero interest promises is a system that's quietly making it harder for people to escape debt, qualify for real credit, and develop healthy financial habits. So today, we're unpacking the BNPL industry. We're talking about who it targets, how it profits, and why it's time to stop pretending it's harmless. Because if you're a young adult in 2025, you just need to hear this. Let's go ahead and start with the basics. What even is BNPL? Buy now, pay later, or BNPL is exactly what it sounds like. You make a purchase now, and instead of paying the full price up front, the cost is split into smaller payments, usually 4 spread over like 6 weeks. Some plans offer monthly options for bigger ticket items. You've probably seen this offered on sites like Nike, Apple, Urban Outfitters, or even grocery delivery apps. And the biggest players in the space, Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, Zip, Sezzle, plus newer programs like Apple Pay Later and PayPal Pay in 4. As of 2024, the global BNPL market was valued at over $300 billion, and it's expected to hit over $560 billion by the end of 2025. So yeah, this just isn't a trend, it's a movement, and it's being sold to us as the future of flexible spending. But let's dig a little deeper, shall we? Who's actually using BNPL? According to a 2023 Bankrate study, over 55% of millennials and 51% of Gen Z consumers have used a BNPL service at least once. And among those who do, nearly 2/3 say they've used it more than once, some regularly. Even for basic stuff, a LendingTree report showed that 25% of Gen Z users have used BNPL just to buy groceries. That's not shopping for fun, that's survival. And that right there is the first red flag. BNPL just isn't being used to spread out the cost of a new couch or laptop anymore. It's becoming a substitute for financial stability, which is a problem. And when that's the case, when you're using a loan service to get through the week, the idea that this is just a convenient tool falls apart very fast. So who's to blame? Is it the users or the companies designing these tools? We're going to talk about how BNPL services specifically target younger generations and how their advertising uses lifestyle promises and psychological manipulation to normalize debt, all while hiding the real costs. If you think this stuff is harmless, please keep watching, because what's happening behind the scenes might change the way you look at that little pink Klarna button, forever. So let's talk about who these companies are specifically targeting and how, because BNPL services don't just show up randomly, they're strategically placed and their advertising is laser focused on one demographic, and that's younger people, specifically millennials and Gen Z. If you're between 18 and 30, these companies are not just offering you a payment option, they're designing their entire business model around your habits, your struggles, and your psychology. Let's break down how they do it. So first off, here is the aesthetic. Take Klarna, for example. Their whole vibe, pink branding, bubbly fonts, soft music, aspirational models, they're not positioning themselves like a bank. They're positioning themselves like a fashion brand, a lifestyle. It's banking dressed up in Instagram filters. And what that does is disarm you. It makes you feel like this isn't serious, like this isn't a loan. It's just a casual way to treat yourself. Afterpay does the same exact thing. Cool, minimal UI, bright colors, young influencers on TikTok talking about how easy and empowering it is to shop now and split payments later. It's not a financial service, it's an identity. Second off here is the targeting. BNPL ads are everywhere, but especially where young people spend time. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube Shorts. And they know exactly what to say. They don't just sell the product, they sell relatability. You deserve it. Treat yourself. Flexible options for a new generation. Don't wait, own it today. Sound familiar? That's because these ads are often A/B tested to living hell. They're data backed, built on what clicks, what converts, what makes you feel good. You're not just being advertised to, you're being studied. Third here is the normalization. These services are trying to make debt look normal, even empowering. Like if you're using BNPL, you're not just broke, you're smart, you're modern, you're in control. And when everyone around you is doing it, when it's on every checkout page, every influencer story, every haul video, it feels like the new normal. You're no longer asking, can I actually afford this? You're asking, can I afford the next installment? And that's where the real trap begins. Because let's be real, when money is tight and you see the option to pay $19.99 now instead of $80 up front, it doesn't feel like a decision anymore. It feels like a solution. But here's the problem. That $19.99 turns into 4 payments. Then you do it again and again. Then a $40 payment is due the same week as your $60 one from last month, and before you know it, you're juggling 5 different installment plans with no room to breathe. This is what they don't tell you in the ads. That BNPL debt is invisible until it's crushing you, because there's no credit limit, no warning signs, no hard stop, just a slow, rising tide. And it's working. In a 2023 Lending Tree survey, nearly 71% of Gen Z users said they were managing more than one BNPL loan at a time, and over 64% said they've regretted a BNPL purchase. Think about that. More than half of young people using BNPL are buying things they wish they hadn't, but the services don't care because every swipe, every pay later, every regret is profit. So now you're probably wondering, how much damage can these services really do? It's just 4 payments, right? Well, we're going to get into what happens when you fall behind. We're talking credit scores, debt traps, late fees, and how missing just one BNPL payment can affect your ability to borrow from actual banks in the future. Spoiler alert, it's a lot worse than they make it out to be. So stick with me. All right, so let's get into the part BNPL companies don't really want you thinking about. What happens when you miss a payment? Because sure, it's all zero interest and good vibes on the surface, but once you fall behind, the mask comes off. Let's start with the credit impact. A lot of people assume that buy now, pay later services don't affect your credit score, and for a while, yeah, that was true, but it's not anymore. In 2022, Affirm began reporting its payment history to Experian, one of the 3 major credit bureaus. Other BNPL providers are rolling out similar policies, especially in the US and UK. So here's the deal. If you pay on time, it might help you build credit slightly, but if you miss even one payment, that's a red flag on your credit report. And if you miss multiple, you've just made it harder to qualify for a loan, a mortgage, or even a credit card, all over a pair of sneakers you didn't really need. Now, let's just talk about fees. Fees alone. BNPL companies love to say zero interest, and in many cases, that's true if you pay on time. But when you're late, Afterpay, for example, charges up to 25% of the purchase price in late fees. Klarna, you could face $7 or more per missed payment and possibly get cut off from using the app. Affirm sometimes charges interest rates of up to 30% APR on longer-term financing. So no, it's not free money, it's conditional money, and the conditions are stricter than they look. So what about debt accumulation? This is where it really gets messy because unlike a credit card, which at least gives you a visible limit, BNPL debt is scattered across purchases and platforms. You could owe $20 to Klarna for a jacket, $45 to Afterpay for groceries, $80 to Affirm for headphones, $120 to Apple Pay later for that iPad you convinced yourself was for work. Individually, none of it seems necessarily dangerous. Together, though, you're in deep water with literally no life vest. There's no monthly statement that shows you the big picture, no dashboard telling you, hey, you're in too deep, just notifications, tiny charges, and quiet debt creeping up on you until it isn't quiet anymore. And here's the most dangerous part. You stop feeling like it's real money. You disconnect from the transaction. Oh, it's only $14 today. It's just a payment plan. I'll catch up next week. But money is still leaving your account, and interest and fees on overdraft charges don't care about your intentions. A 2023 survey from Credit Karma found that over 30% of BNPL users overdrafted their bank account due to BNPL payments. Think about that. These payments can literally push you into the red, and once you're there, it's a domino effect of late fees, bounce payments, and more stress. And if you're thinking, well, I'll just stop using it, that's easier said than done. These services don't just let you walk away. They'll send collections after you, lock your account, lower your approval score, and yes, they have an internal rating for you as a consumer on these platforms, 100%. And in some cases, they even report you to credit bureaus. And just like that, your easy 4-year payment plan became a long-term financial burden, all because you missed a $22 installment. So now we know the consequences, but let's zoom out even more. We're going to talk about why this system exists in the first place, how these companies are making billions off zero interest loans, and why these platforms are more profitable than you'd ever expect. Because spoiler alert, they're not in it to help you. They're in it to make money, and they're doing it really well, to be honest. Okay, so far we've talked about how BNPL services lure you in, target young people, and quietly punish missed payments. But here's what we haven't talked about yet, how they make their money. Because you might be wondering, if these companies are offering 0% interest, no fees if you pay on time, and fast approvals, how are they pulling in billions in revenue? The answer is you and the stores you shop at. So let's break it down. First up here, we have the merchant fees. The biggest chunk of BNPL profit doesn't come from the consumer, it comes from the retailer, the website where you make your purchase. Every time you use a BNPL option like Klarna or Afterpay, the retailer pays a fee of 2% to 8% of your purchase price. That's way more than what credit card companies charge, usually 1.5 to 3%. So why do retailers agree to it? Because BNPL users spend more. A Klarna report showed that customers who use BNPL spend up to 45% more per transaction. That's huge. And it means retailers are happy to fork over a chunk of the sale because you're spending money you don't really have. BNPL drives sales. Sales drive profit, and those profits flow to both the retailers and the BNPL companies. Next up here, we have late fees and interest charges. Remember all those zero interest promises? They're only true if you pay on time, and most people don't. In fact, a 2023 CFPB report revealed that more than 10% of BNPL users fall behind on at least one payment. When that happens, companies like Afterpay and Klarna collect late fees. Others, like Affirm, charge high interest rates, sometimes up to 30% APR, for long-term financing options. So yeah, the system's friendly until you trip. Then it turns into a high-interest lending trap, just like a credit card, but with fewer regulations. Here's my third point that I don't think people talk about enough, and that's data monetization. Here's where it gets even sneakier. BNPL companies aren't just lenders, they're data brokers. They track your shopping habits, payment behaviors, preferred brands, purchase frequency, even what time of day you tend to buy things. That data is absolute gold to marketers. So while you're out here thinking this is a cool interest-free way to shop, they're building a profile on you and selling it to brands who want to advertise directly to people just like you. And the better they know you, the easier it is to get you to buy again and again and again. It's a self-feeding loop. You buy with BNPL, they collect your data, they use it to target you, and you buy again. And the debt grows quietly in the background. So let's be clear, BNPL is not a tech gift to consumers, it's a revenue engine. The zero interest pitch is a front, a Trojan horse. Behind it is a business model built to make money from retailer transaction fees, missed payments, high interest plans, and behavioral data, and ultimately, your financial instability. This isn't speculation, this is how the model is designed to work. If everyone paid on time, spent responsibly, and never overspent, these companies literally wouldn't exist. They need you to stretch yourself. They need you to be a little behind. They need you to need the item. That's how they grow. So now we've seen how the money flows from your wallet to the retailer, to the BNPL provider, and back again. But what is this doing to people emotionally, mentally? We're going to talk about the psychological toll this system is having on young consumers and how it's reshaping how we view money, debt, and self-worth in the digital age. Because this isn't just a financial issue anymore, it's pretty personal. So just to recap, we've talked about the mechanics of BNPL, the profit structure, the missed payments, the manipulation. But there's one layer we haven't really peeled back yet, the one that hits closest to home. What is this system doing to us mentally? Because BNPL isn't just about money, it's about psychology. And if you're anything like me, or like most people in our generation, you've probably felt it. The pressure to afford things you can't afford, the shame of falling behind, the stress of juggling 5 different payment plans, the fear of logging into your bank account. This isn't convenience anymore, it's quiet chaos, to be honest. Let's start with impulse spending. BNPL is designed to make buying feel easy, frictionless, and effortless. But when you make a purchase without feeling the full weight of the cost up front, your brain processes it differently. A study from the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that deferred payment reduces pain of paying, making you more likely to overspend and less likely to consider long-term consequences. In other words, you're not really buying, you're clicking through a fantasy, and reality doesn't hit until weeks later. That's how closets get filled up with things you don't remember buying. That's how grocery trips become debt. That's how treating yourself turns into stress. Let's talk about the emotional burnout here. BNPL breaks your finances into absolute fragments. You're no longer managing one budget or one card. You're managing 4 separate repayment cycles across multiple platforms. You've got Klarna due on Monday, Affirm due on Wednesday, Afterpay coming Friday, PayPal Pay in for next week, right? It becomes a mental juggling act, a constant stream of micro anxieties. And even if the total debt isn't huge, the mental weight absolutely is. A recent survey by Credit Karma showed that over 40% of BNPL users feel overwhelmed by their payment schedules, and nearly 1 in 3 reports feeling anxious just opening email or payment apps. This isn't freedom, this isn't empowerment, this is financial PTSD disguised as flexibility. And then there's the shame because no one talks about this stuff publicly. You'll see someone post a Klarna haul on TikTok, but you won't see them post about missing payments. You won't ever see them talk about calling their bank because they overdrafted on a $19 charge they forgot about. And so we suffer quietly. We pretend like everything is fine, like we're financially stable, like we've got it all under control. But deep down, a lot of us are drowning in these invisible debts, not big enough to make headlines, but big enough to make us feel like failures. And it adds up. The emotional toll of this system looks like financial anxiety, impulse control issues, low self-worth, delayed financial goals, and for some, full-blown depression. We joke about it online, we meme it, we laugh about paying in vibes, but behind the memes are real people, especially young people, who are just quietly spiraling. And the worst part is the system doesn't care because every missed payment, every regret, every breakdown is still profit at the end of the day. So where do we go from here? Because clearly this isn't sustainable, not financially, not emotionally, not generationally. In the final part of this video, we're going to talk about what needs to change and how you and I can start taking back control before we become another case study in how modern finance failed young people. So we've made it here. We've unpacked what BNPL really is, a modern digitized form of debt dressed up to look like convenience. We've looked at who it targets, how it profits, and what it does to your mind and your money. Now, let's ask the question that matters the most. What do we do about it? Because it's easy to feel helpless, to feel like this is just how things are, that financial stress is a rite of passage for people our age. But it doesn't have to be. We might not be able to dismantle the entire system yet. We can make better choices, we can build awareness, and we can stop letting these platforms use our generation as fuel for their profits. Here's step 1. We recognize the trap. BNPL isn't a free pass, it's a loan, it's debt, it's a contract, it has consequences. And if you're constantly using these services for stuff you don't need, or worse, stuff you can't afford, it's time to take a step back. Look at your finances honestly. How many BNPL payments are you managing right now? How much of your monthly income is going toward purchases you made weeks ago? If it's more than you thought, that's your sign. You're not alone, but it's time to change something. Step 2 is rebuild your mindset around money. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard. Everything we see online tells us to buy now, enjoy now, worry later. Everything we feel financially, socially, emotionally tells us we need to keep up, to flex, to look like we've made it even when we haven't. But here's the truth. You're not a loser because you're not buying stuff. You're not a loser for living within your means. You're not failing because you're choosing peace over payment plans. That's not losing, that's real freedom. And that's the part BNPL companies don't want you to figure out. Because if we've all collectively stopped spending money we don't have, the entire model collapses in on itself. Here's step 3. We demand better systems. BNPL companies aren't going away, they're only growing. But that doesn't mean we have to accept them as they are. We need regulation, we need transparency, we need consumer protections just like we have for credit cards. Because right now, BNPL operates in this weird legal gray area where companies can offer you loans without the same accountability as banks, and that's very, very dangerous. Financial experts around the world are calling for change. Australia is implementing new BNPL legislation, US regulators are starting to investigate, And the more noise we make, the more we demand to be seen, not as users, but as people, the harder it becomes for these platforms to exploit us. And really, the biggest thing here is that we protect each other. The worst part about this whole system is that it thrives in silence, so talk about it. Tell your friends what's happening, share your story, admit when you're struggling, ask for help if you need it, because odds are someone close to you is dealing with the exact same thing and doesn't know how to say it. We are not stupid, we are not irresponsible, we are not lazy. We're navigating a broken economy that keeps giving us short-term tools for long-term problems. But the more we understand that, the stronger we get. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you. You care, you're thinking, you're trying, and that already puts you ahead of the game. Don't let debt define your identity. Don't let BNPL become your baseline. And don't let a checkout button steal your future on one easy payment at a time. You deserve better. We all do. And it starts with awareness and action. If this video helped you, please share it. Leave a comment if you've experienced some of these things with BNPL, good or bad. And let's start a real conversation in the open. Because the more we talk, the harder it becomes for companies to hide behind the silence. Subscribe for more videos like this. And until next time, take care of your money. And most importantly, take care of your mind. Just stay sharp, guys.